and also Bill Carne. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, young lady. How are you? Nice to see you so bright and breezy. And young
As
Tom.
always.
Yeah. Well, as always, once you go on air, yes.
That's right.
He knows the
Bill
secret.
Bill sees the grumpy old bag before the camera comes on.
No, only 2 minutes before, but you were desperate for your coffee this morning.
I was indeed. Yeah, I've got my double cups here.
I tell you what, Bill, with speed like that, Bill, she would be good for getting a few singles on the weekend.
She could have taken a couple of short singles, without a doubt, yeah.
Bill, it has been another busy week, and well, Gina, you've been hearing the cheers from the garden there.
I have indeed, yes. I was just talking to Bill off air, the big game against Whitland and Loreni that took place, and my goodness me, there was some tension there. There was some shouting, and there was also some cheers. So it was a good game in the end, Bill.
Yeah, and it shows, Gina, you're talking about a big game. You're right, it was a big game for those teams. It's in the Alec Colley Cup, which is for the second teams. And that is every bit as meaningful to those players as the best players in the test match which starts today. They want to win. And Whitland and Loreni scored 175 each, which is a huge score to get. And to lose, not lose after getting that is quite scary. So they then go in, Tom rightly says at one time, you'd replay the next night. But now they have, like the penalty shootout, we in cricket have the golden over. Each side has 6 balls to score. And Whitland scored 12. They had 2 fours with the young players they got there in the last over, in the golden over. And Loreni could only muster 8. So, a good win for Whitland. There was an easy win in the same competition. Tom, Stackpool, my old team, 84 for 9. Stackpool seconds, of course. Burton 88 for 0. Dan Griffiths, the skipper from Burton, did well in that game. Well done, Dan. And sadly, Land couldn't get a team to play against Haverfordwest, which is a great pity. I'm always very sad with that. Sorry, no, I got it wrong. They couldn't not get a team because they couldn't get a team for the Harrison Allen. They then can't play in the Seconds Cup because in theory they could play all their first team players.
That affects it then.
Yeah, it does. And in the other game, there was a huge score in Nayland last night. Nayland 265 for 3. George Smithen, another good game where he scored 104. Steve Murray 68 and Nathan Sutton 43. And they beat Kilgetty, who had 80 all out. Kieran Aaron 2 for 10 and Sam Lamb 2 for 17. So those teams now go into the second round where they meet up with the teams that have had ties already. And that's well underway as well now. So, yeah, second team cup, just as exciting as the first team.
I think that's quite important to say, isn't it, Bill? There's a number of divisions, and because the cricket season is split between all of these different competitions, every division and every team has that opportunity to feel that tension, to get that rush as to why we play sports.
Tom, you're right. The Alan Brown Cup was also played this week. That's for the teams in Division 3 and lower, first teams. So that is played. The finals played at Whitland, and that is a magnificent day out, not least the teas that the Nayland ladies provide, let me tell you. But everyone in those lower divisions wants to play in that. And in the games this week, last night, Huntledon were playing Fishguard. Now, Fishguard have got a very strong side, which now includes Hugh Evans, who used to play semi-professional cricketer. Huntledon scored 171 for 3. Leighton O'Connor was an ex-rugby top player. He had 68 not out for Huntledon, and Robson Walker had 35 not out. And Fishguard scored 170 for 3. So Huntledon are in the final by 1 run. Now, I can tell you, there was some noise in Huntledon last night. George Murphy, 94 not out there for Fishguard, in vain in the end. Huntledon going as underdogs in that game, I would suggest, bearing in mind the number of very good players Haverfordwest have recruited this year. And in the other semi-final, it was a bit of an easy match. Pembroke 221 for 8, Jack Harris 58, Gareth Long 53, and Crimmock 74 for 8. Richard Thorne 32 not out, Kerry Brace 4 for 9, bowling for Pembroke. And those teams, I can tell you, I've spoken to people from both sides. I've had texts this morning at 6:30 from Huntledon giving me the scorebook scores so we can mention it this morning. And they love that. And it's great. And fair play to Nigel Delaney from Fishguard. he phoned me at 10 o'clock last night and said the the pictures of the scorebooks are on their way, and they lost. So it's very important, but it's played in the right hole. I love the Alan Brown for the cricket, Gina, not for the teas.
So the Alan Brown Cup, what? Well, for both. The Alan Brown Cup, what date is that? Can you remind us, Bill?
It's in July.
July, yeah.
But it's played on a Sunday. It's exactly the same format as the Harrison Allen for the teams in the top echelons, like Carew, Criselli, those sort of teams, Neyland, and it's those two teams will now be probably thinking about getting a top that will have Alan Brown final on it for everyone to play in. They'll have huge support. Both teams have massive support from the ladies in particular in some of the clubs, and certainly the case in Pembroke. So that's another, as Tom says, and as you agree, Gina, those games are every bit as important. And I love hearing about them, and I love that they want us to put it on air today.
Yeah.
Well, of course, and I echo that for any sports fan out there. If you want your sport mentioned either on a Friday morning with the Bill Garn Pembrokeshire Sports Update or on a Monday evening, then please do get in touch. It's sport@purewestradio.com. Bill, we focused on those Division 2, Division 3 and below. Division 1 is hotting up at the top, isn't it?
It is. The scoring system these days, Tom, as well, makes it points are precious and there's no draw. So if one side scores 300, as they do sometimes now, you either get 300 or lose. In the old days, you could get a draw and get points for the draw. So I was against losing the draw, but I'm not now, because it really makes for attacking cricket. You go out and if you bat first, you get a big score. You don't declare, you bat all your overs, and you say to the other team, no, you blink and score them. Cliff would have loved playing in this sort of cricket. You want to get him back out.
Oh, I know. He's hobbling at the moment, injured. That's the trouble, isn't it? Injuries.
He's overtrained. That's the trouble. Yeah. You got him.
It's all right. You'll just go for the 4s and 6s. You don't need to run then.
No.
Yeah. Well, I was told Gina's got him doing too much running around the garden doing work there.
Yeah, I've got him too much running around making me coffee all the day, all the time, Bill. He's like, right, yes, madam.
Well, in Division 1 tomorrow, Tom Carew are playing Loreni, joint first against fifth. And that's always a battle. Gina knows the area. It's a local derby. And for years, Loreni were the sort of poor relations of that now. But now they're a good side as well. Bottom of the table clash, Branston, who won their first game last week. Well done, Herbie. They're playing at home to Burton, who are 10th. Desperate for points, both of them. All to play for there. In the other games, Neyland, who are joint top, are playing Narberth, who are 6th. And I think we've agreed, Tom, Narberth are the side that could beat anyone on their day. Spare a thought for their captain, Kyle Quartermain. He's a brilliant player. He's a good leader. And he was run out without scoring the week before last. And he gave me stick in the end for keeping on to him about it. Well, last week he was bowled first ball in another game. So well, Kyle, keep right on, mate, because it'll come back. And in the other games, quickly, Saundersfoot were 7th, played Tissue were 4th, and Langham were 8th, playing Criselli. So it's some good cricket there. Same in Division 2. Quickly, Criselli 2nds, playing Haverfordwest, 9th v 2nd. Hooker at top are playing Carew were 8th. Johnson were at the bottom, but they had a win last week and they will be chuffed with that. Nice. They entertained Llanrhian. Yeah, it's great when a team wins its first game, and it's lovely. And Pembroke Dock 6th, play Kilgetty 5th. Whitland 3 versus Llecryd 4. That's the roundup. There's some great cricket. But if you went out and watched your village cricket and saw a game in Division 5, you could sit there, have a cup of coffee, Gina. Better still have a cup of coffee and a couple of pieces of cake and watch a bit of cricket. Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love the success stories in there. Johnston Bottom finally getting a win, because we've documented the struggles they're getting a team together each week. But fair play, they're fulfilling those fixtures. And also, I'm really pleased for Tish. Tish last season really struggled to get to that mid-table, and here they are 4th so many weeks in. Yeah,
and they've got some players who are playing so well. Brennan Devonall has become a tour de force in the division. He's a very quick bowler. He's a tall, rangy lad. He's hitting runs for fun, 70s, 80s, not out, and very quickly. John Pollard is there as well. Can I just tell you quickly a nice story? Jonathan Pollard played at 38 this week for a county team where 5 of the players against the South Wales Cricket Association were under 21. And Jonathan turned to young Rhys Daly, who is the youngster, is 16 in that county team from Pembrokeshire. And he was telling Rhys about the time that Tish won the double of the league and the Harrison Allen in 2006. And Rhys said to him, I wasn't born then.
Born then.
So, you know, it's great. And well done to the county team. They won by 2 runs against a very strong South Wales Cricket Association. 5 players under 21. It says, well done to the selectors and Sean Hannon as captain for what they're doing with the youngsters in this county to beat South Wales Cricket Association at Clydach. Big win for the boys. Well done.
Yeah, really well done. And quickly, before we move on to ladies cricket, Haverfordwest will be pleased that their relegation Division 2 wasn't the capitulation of the club, and they're battling hard in second there.
They are indeed, and they've got some very good players who've been with the club for years. Ben Field is a classy bat. The James brothers, Adam and Ashley, are good bowlers. They'll come back now. Chris Phillips is working hard, and the team spirit is great there. So, yeah, it's nice to see that.
Yeah. And then over to the ladies then. Gina's still not quite convinced to pick up her bat, but there's some exciting cricket going on there.
There's a full programme of games this week again, and we have all the details thanks to Sam Rossiter. I could spend the whole programme talking about their results, Tom. But if I just quickly go through and mention a couple of the best performances. Haverfordwest beat Whitland 102 for 4 after Whitland scored 98 for 6. Owen Prusser and Joe Price bowled well. Lynn Ward had 26. Lani Hogben had 26 for Whitland, and Alice John 25. I think I'm right in saying Alice John is no longer Alice John, because I think she got married last week. Congratulations to young Alice. Lovely lady from a lovely family. Criselli 127 for 1, beat Burton 89 for 4. Ava Midgley, Megan Arthur, Lauren Davis, Zoe Minute all had 25 and had to retire. Such is the batting strength of Criselli. For Burton, we mentioned Elaine Scale last week being a grandmother and playing. I had a bit of stick for that. Sorry, Mr. Scale. She's still lovely. She's 25, not out again. What a player. Sophie Isaac, the same. Pembroke 75 for 3, lost a hook. 76 for 1. Sian James, 25, not out for Pembroke. And Casey Aaron and Gemma Phillips batting well for Hook. So that's the first division. And in the second division, quickly, Neyland lost to Kilgetty. Big scores there. And Pembroke, 300 for 4, beat St. Ishmael's 262 for 9. Bear in mind that they start with 200 runs there, and the emphasis is not losing wickets. Leanne Panton bowled well for Pembroke, 3 for 12. Well done, girl. And great spirit. Everyone I talk to with the ladies, Gina, you love this. They say they're playing competitive cricket, but they're playing and having fun.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it is. Yeah, and getting out and about and feeling good.
Yeah.
We're going to move on from cricket. And for those that might have missed Monday evening with Sports Show with Ethan Evans and Morris, you would have missed Bill catching up with O'Sullivan, one of the O'Sullivans, anyway, about their white collar boxing match. Now, that was before the bouts took place. I'm sure that it was covered a little bit on Monday evening. But just a reminder, it is fun, but it's also taken in very high regard and lots of skill and tactics in these 4-week workshops, Bill.
Yeah, when I heard white collar boxing first, and when I told Marilyn, she said, well, how do they box in shirts? You know,
that's what I thought.
It's called that because it's for people who don't normally box, but who want to just try it. And a lot of people go into gyms now and they're picking up the vibe, and a lot go to S7. And Wayne and Chris O'Sullivan, who organise it with their children, they do a great job. It took place in Withy Bush Arena, 11 bouts. First 10 went the distance. There was a stoppage in the last bout because one of the boys had a bloody nose and the ref stopped it. And what they emphasise in them, Tom and Gina, is the safety. They have to go take part in a 7-week training and acclimatization period. They're checked by doctors. So there's an element of fun. I mean, a couple of the bouts featured people who were best pals. And they wanted to just have a box, so they thought they'd box against each other. And that's okay. And the organisation, 64 tables of 10 or 12, work that out, that's 800 almost, and all wanting to see a bit of good quality fun boxing. A lot of people turn up in fancy dress. They have a good night out with it. And I went to the last one. I couldn't go to this one. But it was a great night. And Rob Jones beat Lee Roach to win the best boxer. That was the last bout of the evening. Classic example, Luke Harding and Rhys Vaughan are great pals. Luke was due to box someone, and Rhys, who'd been training but didn't have a bout, stepped in. They're best pals. They're good mates. They punched the lights out of each other in the nicest way, and they won the award for the best bout. Interestingly, Gina, I don't know if you're interested, there were 3 bouts featuring ladies. And there were wins for Emily Bowen, Caris James, and Charlotte Neal. 2 of those, their husbands are very good sportsmen as well. So I don't know whether Cliff would want those nice looks of yours rearranged, perhaps.
Yeah.
But well done to your Solomon boys. They spotted a niche and it's working. It's great fun.
Fantastic. And then some other good news stories, Bill. One on the other side of the world. Or is it up in Scotland? I'm getting my Perth confused.
Yeah, not Western Australia. Sean Bowen is riding. He's a top jockey now, isn't he? His dad, Peter, and his mum, Karen, are trainers up near Letterson. And last week we talk about the distances, He went for one day to Perth in Scotland, and he rode for Gordon Elliott, who is one of the best-known Irish trainers, shrouded in controversy a couple of years ago. But he's back, and Sean helps him out. He rides his Elliott's horses in this country, and on that day he had 4 winners: Mrs. Paisley, Ballykeel, River of Joy, and Gavin. That's a bit of a boring name.
Gavin. Here comes Gavin down the final straight. Come on, Gavin.
Yeah. All the others have got nice names, and then poor old Gavin.
Oh.
But he had 4 winners. He's had 4 or 5 winners for Dad and for other trainers, and he is really getting a name amongst the point-to-point. No, he used to ride point-to-point among the steeplechasing jockeys now in National Hunt, and he's a lovely, lovely boy. We've had him on the show, and he's so matter of fact. His brother James is very good as well, but he's got a damaged hand, so he isn't riding at the moment. And then another brother, Mikey, is a good trainer as well. So the Bowen family in general are great credit. If you've got time, you ought to go to one of their open days in their training place. And you could eat off the floor there. You could eat a cake off the floor there, Gina.
I can imagine. Just one other thing, right? So all of those horses that you mentioned just now, who are you backing? Tom, can you remember the names?
Well, Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin. And that is it, right? You didn't remember the other fancy names, but you've remembered Gavin. And that is very clever, actually.
Yeah, you're right. It is. And I suspect it's probably the name of someone who's bought a horse and named it after their son or their dad. You never know, do you? So it's not for me to be little, but it just struck me as funny.
It's the one we remember.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. So there we are,
Yeah, looking at winter sports, I know it sounds strange, but of course, pre-season friendlies, pre-season training, boot camps have restarted back up. My WhatsApp's come back alive with, should we do the steps on Key Street? Absolutely not. But there have been presentation evenings as well, haven't there, Bill? And Narberth Narberth RFC, of course, it's the last one for two of the greats that have been there, and the 2 people did very well.
Yeah, indeed. I interviewed last night Lewis Gibby, who's a scrum half there, so that'll be on the show on Monday night.
Amazing.
Along with Ben Field, I've got 2 segments with him because he's been with the FAW for the last 9 months after being with Sport Pembrokeshire, and they're brilliant interviews. I couldn't interview him in one segment. I couldn't. He's doing so much. And Lewis Gibby, he's a scrum half. He's a diminutive fella. He was telling me last night, by the time he got to me, I left a message, Mum and Dad. I used to play cricket with Richard, his dad, and his mum is lovely, lovely lady. And he phoned me last night, and he's a very quiet lad. He doesn't like fuss. I had to persuade him to come on and talk. Oh, I'm not very good and all that rubbish.
Oh, a bit like you, Tom.
Yeah, just like me.
Yeah. But anyway, I spoke to him, and the awards are called out, of course, aren't they? So the first award is Player of the Season. Lewis Gibby, scrum half, brilliant. He's tiny little fella. Players player, Lewis Gibby. Coaches player, Lewis Gibby. Most awards in the season for man of the match, Lewis Gibby. Top try scorer, Lewis Gibby. All 5 top awards in the dinner, Lewis Gibby. It's never been heard of before. It won't be done again. Yeah. The supporters player, I think, as well. He won earlier on in the fortnight before. And I talked to him and I said, Dad, I won't tell you what his dad said exactly, but they were pretty shocked when he got home with his arm full, about 3 a.m, with his arm full of trophies. So well done to Lewis. And I tell you, he's a lovely interview, very quiet, and he's doing the long course weekend. That's where he was last night. He'd been out swimming in freshwater east. Wow. Getting himself acquainted to the seawater. And he did that because his sister, Jess, wanted to try it, and Lewis stepped in and is helping her. What a family.
Lovely.
That's incredible. That's so fantastic. And you mentioned Long Course Weekend. I know a lot of people are doing Long Course Weekend and raising money for charity. Well, there's something happening in Milford, isn't there, Bill?
Yes, there is. Chris Busby, Timmy Roberts and Lee Broom are all characters. Chris Busby, he's 48. He still plays for Nail. And when I got him to talk to us for an interview once at a golf day, that was one of my biggest achievements ever because he doesn't like a fuss. And that's understating it. But anyway, he and his 2 pals, Timmy and Lee, they all work together. And they wanted to do something for charity. So they organised a golf day. This is their 3rd coming up now. And they do it for a local charity every time. In the first 2, they raised, would you believe, Gina, £18,000.
Wow.
So the next one's on the 23rd of June. It's in Milford Haven. And it's for one of their ex-rugby pals, Stephen Roberts, who we've had on the radio as well on a Monday night, because he walked the coastal path one way and then the other for ME, which he suffers from. And they're doing it for this year. They're doing it to raise money, to help Steve raise money with that. And they've got that day going on. I
know Cliff is behind that as well, actually. Cliff and O.C. Davis at the garage.
That's my next point. I was going to say, they've even managed to get, through Mark James, who works for them, who you will know, in Cliffy's garage there, O.C. Davis, a car, so you can have a go at getting the hole-in-one on the 10th. And if you get a hole-in-one, guess what you get? A brand new car.
Ooh.
That's amazing.
So that's what, but what a generosity from O.C. Davis. So they've got that. They've got Sam Parry helps. He's helped every year provide some memorabilia for them. There's also Ian Goff, who played 2nd row for Wales. He's going to be there and he's made a donation, and that will be used as part of the auction. There's loads of support from local businesses and self-employed people who want to just give a raffle prize or make a donation. So those guys will attract a lot of support from that. And I just say, if you've got a chance to help, or go along and cheer them on and buy a raffle ticket to it, because they're 3 lovely boys. I talked to him. Chris Busby is very proud of the fact. He says he didn't learn any English because he didn't get taught by me. And I keep telling him he'd have learned how to duck a few right hooks because he's a Nayland. And 1 or 2 of those, Matthew and Andrew Williams and other people like that, that's what they learned. Taught them how to sidestep, I can tell you that. They were so, that'll be a day worth going to, yeah.
Amazing. Gina, Lloyd Crawley's been in touch.
Has indeed. He said, can you say hello to Bill Carne from me? I spoke to him ages ago about badminton.
What I love about that, he says, he calls me Bill Carne. If he knew.
If only he knew.
And Lloyd, I tell you what, Lloyd is a smashing guy. Do you know, that's where I count myself lucky, Gina. I won an award this year. It's not me. I just love sport. And if you look at the camaraderie that exists, Lloyd's a badminton player. And I've interviewed over 1,000 people with articles like that. And it's just fantastic. I wouldn't have known Cliff if I hadn't.
It's sport, isn't it? Yeah.
And the people that you never get. I wrote about a fella called Adge John this week, who's got a molecular degeneration of his eyes, which means he's got tunnel vision, but he still manages to score. We've interviewed him on the radio, and when you think, he sent me a lovely thing last night to say how nice this article was. The honour was mine, the pride was mine in talking to someone like that, who's still giving something to sport and making his world a better place as well.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing to be part of, isn't it? And we're part of that, the three of us.
Yeah.
That's why I get up at 6:30 in the morning, young lady, on a Friday.
And we fully appreciate it as well. I love this rundown on a Friday morning. Thank you so much. And we've come to the time now where it's Feel Good Friday. Now, Bill, before we hear from yours, we've already heard from Joe Bowling. Gina.
Oh, we have indeed. A very good morning, Joe. And Joe's Feel Good Friday song will be on the way. Boys of Summer by Don Henley. But first of all, Bill, like every Friday morning, I love to hear your song choice.
Well, right back to the start of the 60s, really. I make no apology. We have played the Beatles once before. But I was listening to this song coming down the M4 this week. And it's so simple. The lyrics are great. The harmonies, the backing music. And I thought that was the Beatles at their best, the early days. She Loves You, all that sort of song, you know. Yeah. And it was From Me to You. So I'm sending this from me to you, to my family, and to you lovely people today to say, listen to a bit of class from the 60s. The Beatles, From Me to You.
Bill, as ever, it's been a pleasure. Get your song requests in as well if you're watching this on social media. Tune in on your smart speaker, on our mobile app, and online. I've got the details up on the screen. We'll be back on social media in just a second, Gina, collecting more Feel Good Friday tunes on this wonderful Friday morning. Bill, thank you so much for your time and your efforts. I love it.
Mon plaisir. You know that. Have a nice weekend, both of you.
You too. Will.
The Beatles, From Me to You for Bill Carne, and Don Henley, Boys of Summer, playing for Joe Bowling. On the way for you now. It's 7:34 on Pure West Radio.
Feel Good Friday with Pem's Paving.